All right, Scavengers, welcome to the Six Scale Scavengers podcast, episode 37, the first episode of the new decade, 2020. We don't got Barbara Walters' version here, but guys, very excited to be back. The three of us, continue to chat daily, but with the holidays coming up, happy holidays, happy new year to all of our Scavengers. We just couldn't coordinate an episode right around Christmas time. We thought it'd be best to take a little bit of a time off and come back. And one of the things that we're really excited about to share with the Scavengers is we have our second annual awards show, Chris. Now, this one we're actually doing at the beginning of the following year, which kudos to us.
Yes.
And thanks to TC, we actually have a little bit more professionalism about this. We actually have a legitimate list of figures that were released in 2019, not just what we thought was released. And we used some very loosey-goosey ways of determining the figures last year. So I'm looking forward to having a little bit more of a legitimate approach for our show today.
Yeah, Google Docs will do that for you. Nice little easy template. Get things ready to go.
Don't give away the secrets.
Yeah, it was Google Docs. I got to give a shout out to Zach with Collecting Weekly. He's the one that gave us the idea. If you have not listened to their awards episode yet, I actually haven't had a chance, you guys. I've been so busy with everything and the holidays. I've very rarely have time for anything else right now. So, but I do know that they had an episode, and as we were just discussing before we hit the record button, they did a pretty dang good job about it. So, and they're going to cover more stuff with Collecting Weekly than we do with here with Six Scale Figures. And just as I'm reminding now, we're still on YouTube, still not necessarily giving the middle finger to COPPA here, but this is definitely a show for adult collectors, not geared to anyone under the age of 13. So if you are under the age of 13 and watching this on YouTube, please go to bed. It's 9:30 at night. Good night.
Eastern Standard Time here.
I need my 8 hours of sleep and I don't get it. I'm a curmudgeon here. So yeah, so guys, really looking forward to this episode. So a couple things. If everybody's tuning in live on YouTube, you can see scrolling down on the very bottom of the screen here, our feature figure review of episode 37 is going to be not necessarily a retro review, but we're going to go back and do a recap of Boba Fett MMS 464, which was the deluxe version from Empire Strikes Back. Up until recently, you could still get it in stock. Spoiler alert, it's the best of the three Boba Fett's available. And I know, guys, one of the reasons why I think everyone's got a little bit of Mando fever here is because of the Mandalorian and the child Baby Yoda and whatnot. So we don't have a Mandalorian figure to review here, but we figured Boba Fett was the next best thing.
Yeah, we hadn't done it yet, and it seems, somewhat fitting. It kind of ties into the that whole Mandalorian culture and everything. There he is on the screen. We just figured what better time than now to check out Boba Fett and see what people have to say about him.
Let's get some
we
Star
got
Wars.
and going back to Star Wars here a little bit. So we've got a full chat room already. I see the artist formerly known as Gare Bear out there. We've got Danny. We've got Mike. I thought I saw Bill Janowski out there. What's going on, Bill? Toy Medic, Mervin, Sean's out there. Noble's always first in with a comment. Jeff's out there. We got Charlie's out there, Jeff Therian. So very cool to see everybody tuning in. We've already got 17 live. Everybody, the fever. Gary's out there wanting to know what our figure of the year is. And the cool thing, guys, that we did this year is not only did we do an admin team top 5, but we also did a Scavengers top 5 and a little bit more of a scientific approach this year. And really, I'm happy to show. And I guess a little bit of a spoiler, there's a lot of crossover between the lists. I'm all over the place here, guys. I'm just so eager to get this first episode of the year out of the way. So I was talking to our good friend Roy earlier, and happy birthday, Roy, by the way. By the time you listen to this, it's already going to be the next day, but too bad. Anyways, we were talking, and I was asking him about his top figure of the year, and it was kind of weird, guys. Like we expect a lot out of Hot Toys, and they have great releases, but when I looked at the list of figures between January and December, there was some good figures there, but just overall, it just felt a little underwhelming. Like, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, we've got some great figures to talk about here, but it just wasn't as strong as I thought it was when we're kind of going through the week to week and talking about the new releases and the pre-orders and all that other stuff.
It felt like there was more. There was more figures that came out last year. But, we tend to, go back and pick up older figures. So we kind of forget when a lot of these figures are released. But I don't know. We'll see what 2020 brings as far as releases go and comparisons and that sort of thing. I think Roy had the numbers compared 2018 to 2019, and I think the numbers were pretty close, within a figure or two. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid list, and I'm interested to see what people's reactions are to where some of these figures came in.
Yeah, Brian, I think a little of that is just simply Hot Toys being a victim of their own success, of their own, I guess, quality control. I mean, they push the envelope now for so many years. It's just how much more improvement can they make on, given figures, and then oftentimes they release figures that are the same as prior. So the multiple Captain Americas, multiple Iron Man. So people are used to seeing kind of the same ones. So I kind of get what you're saying, but I think that it's just because they're that good at what they do.
They are dang good at what they do. All right, guys, let's just cut to it because I really want to talk about these awards eventually. And we've got some huge collection updates. TC, you and I were on the most recent Assemble with Steve, and holy cow, there was a ton of people tuning in live to that. I think at one point there was over 50. Probably, I guess PJ was on the show, the Paradox Nerd. He's the star, but still 50 people live is pretty incredible for a niche collecting thing that we do.
Yeah, man, it was a really fun chat. I was glad to have you on that one. It was pretty cool. It was pretty live, and I mean, 50 is our high mark for a live stream. So let's maybe get 51 tonight.
We're at 22 now. We got a little ways to go. Maybe we should market a little bit more.
I think we need to get Steve on here. He needs to be the
I know.
host.
He knows how to do it. I think we're good. But I mean, we weren't without news. I know the Assemble had a couple episodes to cover some of this stuff, but we had some figures released before the end of the year, and some stuff now coming into the new year, and kind of anticipate a glut of figures coming out this first quarter. But so some of the figures that we've seen already released, at least in Hong Kong, we've seen Endgame Thanos, the armored version. So I know Jenkin Wong and a handful of other reviewers have already got that in hand and done reviews and that sort of thing. So check out, their stuff, figure collecting for Dummy, and, just whoever else you enjoy following. Then let's see, other releases. I know Bryan was tempted with this one, the Ecto 1 from Blitzway.
Yeah, so I'll get to why that's even was remotely on my radar, but the amount of times I measured my small collecting space and the Modu cases I would have to get to do that, it would have to be the largest one, and I'd have to sacrifice not only my entire collection probably just to afford it, but on the other hand, like, it would have to be the centerpiece of my collection, and would have to somehow build around it. It just wasn't in the cards. And there's been, I forgot to grab some images about it, but I've seen some videos like on Facebook and Instagram. It looks pretty epic. It also looks huge.
It's gigantic.
It's
for a toy.
Yeah, it's almost like 3 DTOFs wide. If you want to just, I mean, that's one of the biggest, most common ways we can help people understand like the scale of it. I mean, just the length, and then also width. I want to say it's pretty close to maybe 18 or 20 inches wide, if not a little bit more. It's incredible. I commend anybody that can fit it in their collection, and Blitzway is just killing it lately with a lot of their stuff. I hope we have some more stuff from Blitzway to start covering. And spoiler alert, I have another reason to want to talk about Blitzway a little bit more coming up too, with our collection update. Yes, I mean, we go a month without a podcast, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, the Assemble has really covered everything. We're just kind of rehashing a lot of it. A couple things I think of note where we can cover news-wise, guys, is what's impacted with either things on waitlist. It looks like the hype from Rise of Skywalker, and I'll just say right up front, we're still spoiler-free about all the Mandalorian and Rise of Skywalker. And quite honest, you don't tune into this podcast to listen to our movie takes. We're here to talk about collecting. Chris, Last Jedi, Kylo Ren, Darkseid Anakin, both have gone waitlist. Both fantastic figures. Not surprised in the least on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much a given, especially with the Rise of Skywalker Kylo not coming out till like spring of 2021, and with the Last Jedi version being very similar in aesthetic. That was available at Sideshow for a long time, and they even had deals on it and stuff like that, and it just hit waitlist. And then Darkseid Anakin, I mean, finally went waitlist.
A year and a half.
A year and a half. I know, my buddy's like, dang it, I can't believe I missed that. And I'm like, dude, a year and a half.
Yeah, time.
Yeah. So, but so on top of those delays, we got
TC, what do we got out there for delays on this?
Yeah, Gamora was delayed. Also, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yep.
And Captain Marvel, and I guess Two-Face stateside was delayed. So
yeah. I think some people got them, but
those ones just keep. Gosh, Gamora, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean, those things are supposed to be out about in the summer.
I know. I looked at my Gamora pre-order. I think she was a dopo for me. May of 2018.
Gosh.
So, and her window for release is pushed out potentially till March. I mean,
it's getting that Superman treatment,
right? And speaking of Superman, Justice League Superman, people finally had their prayers answered. And he was released, and it looks pretty good. And also Aquaman from the movie Aquaman was released as well. And check out the Assemble for a nice little discussion about a certain framed area of that figure.
I still want John Martino to give it his take on.
I know he needs to take his own picks of that figure.
Well known for doing the crotch shots as he did from New York Comic Con.
I know, with his excuses saying, I'm trying to get the details of what, man, of what.
Yeah, shout out to John and Tachi Station, one of the best Facebook collecting groups out there.
Yeah, speaking of them, real quick, he's got a giveaway of the month through Big Bad Toy Store, a pinned post on their Facebook group, so check that out. And then also we got a couple pre-orders. Remnant Stormtrooper from Mandalorian. Big O or whatever. I know the Assemble guys talked about it. Good looking Stormtrooper, weathered and that sort of thing. Battered. We'll see if the final product is as distressed as the prototype. But for those trooper collectors, you can always add, a different variation in there. Would look great. buying a couple of them in a little scene with Mandalorian, kicking some butt. And then Bryan, there's one other figure that popped up for pre-order. What was that?
Yeah, America's Ass, 2012 Captain America. So on Big Bad Toy Store, that went up for pre-order. Surprisingly, didn't have a NRD on it. So I kind of against my new way of doing things, but I did pre-order that just because it didn't cost anything. And again, spoiler, Big Bad Toy Store is going to be one of my preferred ways to purchase figures going forward, just because of the low shipping. And yeah, just good release. We tune into the Assemble for our takes on that, and the definitely a great figure. Trying to figure out what exactly was reused on the figure and what's new, and so definitely tune in to capture that. So, all right, guys, let's keep the news short because I want to get to the massive collection updates that we have. I gave a little bit of a spoiler on the Assemble, but before we do that, Chris, we've got a trivia question.
We do. All right, so we got a giveaway. We've got a 1/6 scale digital camo 6 scale Scavenger shirt. That's the prize.
Same tech that the War Machine Mark IV.
That's right.
uses.
Right. So, all right, let's first person to answer. Wayback Machine for the podcast here. This is the question. How many Luke Skywalker?
Hold on, Chris. We got typing the answer into the comments.
Yes. Into the comments, live chat. All right. How many Luke Skywalker figures have we featured as review figures on the podcast in total?
All right. So we'll keep an eye on the chat. First person to give the correct number, contact us after the show, and we will hook you up with. We've got a couple guesses. So Chris B guessed 2, which is incorrect. Super duper paratrooper was a trooper. He stuck around for the whole Assemble last time. He guessed 5. The correct answer is the artist formerly known as Gare Bear with 3. We did Endor Luke, Old Man Luke from The Last Jedi, and Jedi Luke, which I believe was our first review figure back all the way in episode 1.
Yeah. We're showing. Yeah. I think it's Gary is the first one there.
Yep. So very cool. I think Charlie was literally missed him by minutes there. So, but let's Gare Bear hook us, catch us after in the Facebook group, and we'll hook you up with that 6 scale T-shirt, the 6 scale T-shirt.
All right. The big drum roll.
Oh gosh, like epic. So before I feel like I got to give the rest of the story here before we even go like one by one of what's going on here. So it's been about a month since we've talked to all you scavengers, and I thought I could rest like Thanos after I'd made some really big changes to my collection. But one thing I did was I really started to, anytime you feel like you've run into the same problem, it's time to ask yourself some questions about why do I keep running into every 3 or 4 months I need to like sell a bunch of figures. And I look back at 2019, and that's really what was happening. And what I ultimately decided, guys, was the amount of figures that I was pulling in was far greater than the amount that I could display. And it just was this vicious cycle that I just was never going to be able to keep up with. So what I ultimately decided to do was I needed to find out ultimately what a cap of my max figures could be. And I was already kind of exceeding that with some pre-orders and stuff. I also, after talking to our good buddy Lotus, I really wanted to invest in displaying my collection a little bit better. Chris, you've seen my collecting room. It's tiny. Don't really have a lot of space to work with, but I know Matt and everybody on the assembles in the past have talked about the Maji cases, and I really decided I want to go that route. So I put in an order for 4 Maji cases that hopefully will come between April and June of this year. I had to put half down for a deposit and look to replace some of the DTOFs that I have. So I wanted to make an investment there and sold some figures to make that happen. But then I think as I'll go figure by figure with what I'm doing, part of what I also wanted to do was check off a couple boxes and not necessarily limit myself to Star Wars and Marvel like I have in the past, but some other franchises and stuff that either whether it's nostalgia, favorite movies, just things that are tied to memories that are really near and dear to me, and really have kind of almost transformed my collection another time over, in conjunction with what we had talked about last time about really slashing my monthly budget of what I'm doing and really almost limiting myself to 3 or 4 new figures per year, which, as our longtime listeners know, I mean, that's basically, that would be a few months for me before. And then on top of that, if there's other figures out there that I really want, I need to look to sell some things in my current collection so that I'll kind of like basically churn the bottom of my collection if I so choose to do that. Whew, it's a lot. I figured I needed to give that like out front before Disclaimer. I started going through, just because it's going to get absurd. And I'm probably going to go rapid fire. I've probably missed some things that I have done in the last 30 days. But I will also say, after all the changes I made, and I went for quality over quantity, I was able to basically break even on everything, actually, and then being able to set a little bit of aside for my 2020 budget so that I can maybe get a little bit more than those 3 to 4 figures that I had planned.
I mean, sounds like a good plan.
Well, we'll see if everybody else agrees when I eventually. I'll let you guys go first because I just rattled a bunch of that off. But let's see, Chris, we'll start with your collection update first, my friend.
Okay. I did have a lot of stuff going on, but it doesn't compare to what's coming. All right. So I added Chirrut Imwe Deluxe MMS 403. Got that from Tim Cent. He had a pretty good price on on eBay, but I checked his website price, and then the figure had a best offer option. So I offered what his price was on eBay on the website. So he accepted it. So I got that in. Amazing how fast shipping is from the Far East. Came in awesome. Love that figure. I also pre-ordered Cap, the 2012 version from BBTS, while it had its pre-order open. Figured, can't hurt with a no NRD, and I do want that figure. And we'll see if he gets a second one, if I get a second one, or if I have it paired with maybe the Mark 7 or something like that. We'll see. I also bought and sold a second Last Jedi Kylo Ren at a local shop. And
you got the Justin Timberlake for that one.
Yeah, I did get the Justin Timberlake.
Unjustified.
It was totally unjustified, but it was justified.
No, I was able to Bryan. Yeah, I know. Again, the glare. You tagged me in a want to buy. There was several want to buy posts on OSR BST for that Kylo, and one deal fell through, and then the next one hit. So in and out that figure went. Then I'm also, I just sold my Mark IV Iron Man diecast. RIP. But our good friend Cletus picked that up, and he's got a good plan for it. So it's going to good home. Get that out to him tomorrow. Just got to free up some funds, and where I'm not going for the whole lineup of the first 7 Iron Man figures, that was one that kind of got squeezed out, as I already have. I've got the Mark 6 or the Mark 5, the Mark 6, Mark 7. I don't, those Iron Man figures. I don't plan on having just an Iron Man shelf. So Mark IV doesn't really fit in with any of the other figures that I really have. I also made them. Well, if somebody likes this figure, good on you. But I thought I was going to like it, but I got the So Toys Lady Psy Ninja Electra figure. Not a great figure. I had these plans of doing modifications because I keep on watching our buddy Sean do all these fun things with those figures, and just reality set in, and I just don't have the skills to do so. So she's looking for a new home. I also am selling my So Toys Logan. I got a buyer lined up for that. And then I also sold my So Toys Iron Warrior, Iron Fist. It was kind of one of those figures where the show was not so great, but Iron Fist is one of my top favorite characters in Marvel. So it was kind of like a fill-in, but I just figured let's just move on. My co-hosts gave me the push to do so. Just let it go.
Don't start singing.
Yeah, my good thing my daughters aren't around because they would go into song there. Canceled pre-orders. Even though the figures aren't due out for a while, I just needed to pare down the list. Even though I think the figures look great, I had to ask myself, are they figures that I really want? Do they mean anything to me? Am I buying them just because they kind of look cool? And I leaned on that last one. I just wanted them because they kind of look cool, but they don't really mean too much to me. And I felt like if I go through with purchasing them, they probably wouldn't last too long. So I axed Rescue Pepper Potts from Endgame, and then also the upgraded suit from Spider-Man Far From Home. Felt as though it was somewhat redundant enough from other Spider-Man figures I have. All right, and then I canceled one other pre-order for another third-party figure, Young Rich Toys Miles Morales Spider-Man. Again, love that movie, but from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but at the time, I thought it would be cool to have a bunch of Spider-Man, but that's not really my plan going forward. So he got the axe. So, I mean, a lot of stuff going on, moving and shaking, still a lot going. Got to happen in the near future because Endor Luke is shipping from Big Bad Toy Store for me, and got a bunch of other figures coming this first quarter. So gotta make things happen.
That's a heck of a.
That's my story.
It's like 2 episodes worth of an update. So that's
true.
That's also great. It's funny because I'm looking at it in the comments, and even multiple people. I can't attribute it to any one person in particular. I know I see Renz out there had said it most recently. Seems like a lot of people are kind of trading out some Marvel for Star Wars, and I mean we did that several months ago on this podcast. So I think just in general, people are starting to mix things up. And I mean, honestly, this isn't really a spoiler, but we're talking about the end of the Skywalker saga. The MCU is getting ready to start their next phase. We've gotten some other, series and stuff that might get rebooted and stuff. I think people are kind of taking this opportunity to breathe a little bit. I don't think we're going to get a huge, I think the next big blockbuster, and I'm probably missing something in between, but I think it's Black Widow in May. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen and where people are going to go with their collections. But I think you said something, Chris, before we throw it over to TC that I think is obviously very important. It's music to my ears, and I think it's good advice for our collectors. Get the stuff that means something to you, that you're going to want, just because it looks cool and you want it in your collection, guaranteed. How many times have we said it in 37 episodes? You're probably not going to hang on to it. And Hot Toys do hold value, but I think, as I mentioned on the Assemble, the days of selling something used for more than you bought it for is just, it's just really not going to happen. I think if you decide you don't want something anymore and you want to switch it out for something else, there's a good likelihood you'll be able to, as long as it's complete and in good condition, maybe get what you paid back for it. But
Yeah.
these double, triple retail things are just, it's going to be few and far between. And it's going to be mostly figures that were maybe not as heralded in the pre-order process and aren't readily available, or vice versa. I don't see the market getting as crazy as it was when we were seeing like over $1,000 for Mark 47, for example. I mean, that's even falling. I've seen some dropping $100 to $200. So I think if you're patient, I think you can find deals still.
Totally. I just got to, I have done that a lot with my figure purchasing in the past, and I've purged most of those figures, or buying Iron Man figures just to buy Iron Man figures. And again, it's that coolness factor. I love Tony Stark. I love Robert Downey Jr. I love MCU Iron Man, but it's just like where I'm not being a completist with them. I just got to move on from them and, just focus on what really means a lot to me.
Yeah. Once you get rid of one, it makes getting rid of a couple more, if you need to, a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Once you break that dam. But yeah, that's a great update. Just really quick, everybody, announcement before I start on my update. Go pop your popcorn, get it ready, then come back. I just looked at Bryan's list. Good Lord.
I know, it's absolutely insane. It is by far the most epic.
I'll give a condensed version of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think people want to hear. I think people want to hear what's going on. Because, yeah. So, yeah, go for it, CC. Let's hear what your collection update is.
So, several things. I decided I wanted to get the Hulkbuster. So the Hulkbuster Deluxe is supposed to release sometime in March, I think March or April. So having realized that, I don't have Age of Ultron Hulk, so I went and I purchased that one. And that was like right before the last podcast episode. And then I also picked up Winnie the Pooh, which I love that figure. It's so well done. I know it's
honestly, I think everybody's jealous that you have it.
Maybe if you
honestly,
get the single,
it got me thinking.
Not unreasonable. It's not an unreasonable price for the single one. When you start getting Piglet, Tim Sense got it for like $400 something. That's a little much. Wow. But if you get the regular bear, you can get it for like low twos, which is not great, but it's not horrible. But they did such a great job on it. It's got so many cool little features, articulation everywhere, magnetic honeypot. The fur is really of high quality, and so is the knitted sweater. It's like I was just thinking about this the other day. It's kind of like your grandmother knitted the sweater for Pooh Bear. It's that kind of quality. It's good stuff. And then for Christmas, my wife got me Yoda from Attack the Clones. Also awesome figure, so I'm very thankful for that gift. It is a really underrated figure. I think it gets overlooked because it's pint size, but has some great details. And it has it's really really good if you especially want the prequel, if you want to develop your prequel collection. And then I did a couple trades. So Bryan will talk about this on his as well, but I guess I'll just spoil the surprise.
You can take one from me too.
All right. Well, I ended up trading Tarkin, and I gave some cash as well for his War Machine Mark IV from Infinity War. So Infinity War, I really only need that one. I'm not going to end up getting Star-Lord. I don't have the Groot, and don't have Black Widow or the Hulkbuster 2.0. But, there's like 8 or 9 other ones I do have, and that was kind of the capper. So I'm pretty happy about that one. The camo, I guess not texture, but design, the print is pretty sweet. And then I did another cash and trade with Steve, the host of the Assemble. He was trading out his Marvel, which it seems like a lot of people are doing. I'm buying Marvel because I think there's some figures that are really good out there, and there's actually some pretty good value right now. I gave him my Jedha Patrol Trooper with the white pauldron and some cash. Got the Gladiator Hulk. And then I sold one of my Stormtroopers from Return of the Jedi from one of our great group members, one of my friends, Ian Seaby. He's out in London. Sold him my Stormtrooper that helped fund the War Machine Mark IV, as I said earlier. And then finally, the Mark 43 from Age of Ultron to pair with the Age of Ultron Hulk. I got that from Stevens Collectibles and more. So just to give you guys a quick background on him, he's new to our group. He's based in Texas. He has a relationship with Collecting Weekly. He's got a store out in Texas. He is now a distributor of Hot Toys from Sideshow. He will basically order anything you want from Sideshow directly. He'll order it in his store, ship it out to you. I think anything over like 200 or 250 is free shipping. He'll have to confirm that, but over a certain dollar amount, it's free shipping. Depending on your state, there's tax or not, but he'll set up a payment plan if you want. You just got to message him. He's a great guy, and he's been very helpful because I'm starting to transition my purchases over to him as I can. So that's my update. Kind of a lot. I didn't realize, but it's been a month, and
yeah,
it was like, this is my biggest update I'm probably gonna have for many months in terms of buying. But
yeah,
I'm ecstatic with them. I think a lot of good figures there, and collection's better for it.
I can unequivocally say this will be my last massive update.
I think we've heard that a couple times.
No, we have, but no, as I mentioned talking with Steve, and I'm usually the butt of a lot of jokes because of how much I change, and Matt's one of those guys that will sit there with his popcorn and wonder what the heck I'm going to do next. But I honestly feel like now entering whatever year of the podcast this is, Chris, we started 2018. So I guess this would be 2 years, but not that I've got it all figured out, but I really honestly feel like I've got a good plan. I like where my collection is, where it's going. I feel obviously really comfortable with my budget, and I don't have like those gnawing concerns about space and how I'm going to display things. And I think I'll be able to have time to be able to repost things, to appreciate what I do have. I mean, I've got some fantastic figures in my collection. There's a bunch that, although I joke about selling a bunch, there's some that I just never would ever part with. And still having a big focus on Rogue One, that's not going away. And like I said, kind of having a focus on some other things now. So let's start with the departures. And all right, as Gare Bear said, he wants to release the Bryan cut. So I'm just gonna go through here, and if I sold something to somebody in the group and I don't mention you by name, I apologize. There's about 15 figures here that are out the door. It's big. All right. Animated Boba Fett. Oh, I do know. I saw that went down to Mark in Pennsylvania, so I know he got that figure. Black Panther, Shuri, Concept Captain America, Kylo Ren, Force Awakens, a Rogue One Stormtrooper. I believe I sent that one out to, I know it was somebody in the group. Dan, I think. Ray Resistance, that one went to Mila. I sold my Iron Man Mark 6 in the group. Steve mentioned on the Assemble, I parted with my Mark 5, parted with my Mark 4 Iron Man, parted with my War Machine Mark 1 and Mark 3, and now, as TC mentioned, with the Mark 4, that one went out the door. I went from having an Iron Man focus to no Iron Man focus, War Machine focus, excuse me. And also let go of my Iron Man concept art Mark 46. So as you can see with a lot of that stuff, there is some Star Wars intermingled in there. A lot of Marvel. What I really tried to do is I took a long, hard look at my collection. Fortunately, it was also a string of a couple days where there was some snow here in New Hampshire. I was working from home, working in my office is also the collecting room, and I'm just staring, looking at my figures, and that's when I really started to percolate a lot of some of these ideas and what I would be comfortable with parting, and knowing that I had already bought some things that I was also trying to fund at the same time. So that kind of can motivate some decisions as well. It wasn't like I just decided to let a lot of stuff go. I did, but it was because I had already had some things in the pipeline. I do things backwards, or at least I did up until now on what I wanted to do there. So I mentioned that the trade with TC, I think that worked out great for both of us. I'm glad to add Grand Moff Tarkin to my Rogue One shelf, even though he's technically not in the Rogue One line. Obviously, he was featured pretty prominently in that movie. So let's see, what did I add? I did pre-order the Captain America 2012. Like I said, I'm not really going to be pre-ordering now going forward, just because if I change my mind, I want to not have to have an NRD I need to worry about. I know Roy likes to make sure I'm getting rid of those, like I'm flipping dollar bills in the air. Believe it or not, guys, I have 4 pre-orders right now. That's it.
It's pretty impressive.
The Mandalorian, The Mandalorian, 2012 Captain America, Endgame Captain America, and Battle Damaged Iron Man Mark 85. That's it. That's all that I've on the books for right now. I have a couple planned purchases, but I've got that money budgeted aside. The only 2 that are definite as soon as they get released in Hong Kong is Qui-Gon and Krennic. Those are the 2 that as soon as they're released, they'll be quickly probably purchased and added, and maybe I'll go the Tim Cent route. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Let's see. So I guess I should talk about some of the different focuses that I've decided to add. Like a lot of kids that grew up in the 80s, I love Back to the Future. I love the DeLorean. I added the DeLorean to my collection, guys. The Hot Toys DeLorean. It is massive. I still have it boxed down in my basement just because I don't have a spot to display it till my Modular cases come in. It's as impressive. I know Denobi was out in our chat earlier, actually looking at one of his reviews is one of the reasons why I decided to pull the trigger on it and go for it. It is incredible. I can't wait to display it. So obviously I needed a Marty McFly. Instead of going with Marty and Doc from Back to the Future 2, I did decide to go with Marty from Back to the Future 1. Out of that whole trilogy, by far, that's my favorite one. That could be a standalone movie and it would work perfectly fine. So I went ahead and I think Toy Hideout, I got the non-exclusive version of Marty on that. I know Cletus, our friend Cletus, was giving me grief about, I think last episode I was talking about potentially looking at the Blitzway Ghostbusters set. Well, because I had done enough with my collection, I decided I could pull the trigger. And I found that on Amazon, of all places, was the deluxe set on that. And I opened the box. I'm scared to open all the figures because, again, that's another one I want to wait till I've got the Modular cases set up so that I can display that. But I looked at so many reviews of that, and I'm so ecstatic about adding that. I looked and see if I could add the Ecto one. It never could happen. It's just no, I don't have the space.
Tall. It's not even just like wide and long. It's actually tall because all that extra stuff on the roof of the car.
I think it's almost with the antennas and stuff. I think it's approaching like 20 to 22 inches tall,
dude.
And it's probably
you need Steve DeRose type space to
it's like 48 to 50 inches long, I think. I looked at all the measurements, believe me, as I have this off the top of my head. I did look at it, but like the vehicle is iconic, but I just don't have the display. And if I had to choose between the 2 vehicles, I wanted the DeLorean because it's obviously much shorter. So I think the DeLorean's like maybe 30 inches long, or give or take a few from there. So that will fit into a Modular case and whatnot. So looking forward to that. A couple of other things. I was talking about it on the Assemble with the eBay bucks. So again, always be scavenging ABS. What works for you might not work for somebody else, depending on where you live, what your state income taxes are, and all that other sales tax, excuse me. So I had enough for 2 figures. So I added R2D2 Deluxe and Jack Sparrow DX06. with my eBay bucks. And then I also picked up through Charlie in our group, I was able to pick up Jack Sparrow DX15, which just arrived today. I had an opportunity to just peel the DX box open, and which, it's such an experience. I love that figure. It's phenomenal. So thank you to Charlie for hooking me up with that deal. And yeah, that's where my collection is, guys. So like I said, 3 or 4 figures per year. Pretty much got a focus of like a lot of 80s nostalgia, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters. Obviously was still with Star Wars and Marvel. Marvel's going to be a little bit more selective, but I definitely I'm going to try to stay complete on the Rogue One line. And I contemplated sticking with The Mandalorian. I love that show. We haven't really talked about it, but I'm going to be selective about it. Like, I've got The Mandalorian right now. I'm sure they're going to be an updated version of his new armor at some point, hopefully with the child, Baby Yoda, and we'll see from there. But like I said, I'm feeling pretty good about where things are and where they're going.
I mean, you got years before you actually have to really decide if you want to go, full throttle on the Mandalorian line. Nothing's even out for another 12 months probably.
Yeah, and I mean, right now we've got the Mandalorian, IG-11, the Remnant Trooper, and the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian. So, I mean, it's got the makings of a really good line. I know Chris in our group is all in on that, and I think I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I would love for it to rival the Rogue One line at some point, but who knows?
I definitely think it has more potential for figure releases than figures from the Rise of Skywalker, honestly. But time will tell. I think this year, especially with the Star Wars stuff, and maybe the Marvel stuff too, but we're going to start getting some of the figures to fill in some gaps, I think, throughout the year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see about that line, because assuming you get 2 Mandos from the first season, when season 2 kicks off, I'm guessing he's going to be wearing something similar. You're going to then get another version of Mandalorian. Yeah. I mean, you're going to get a new one every year or 2 new ones every year. I don't know if that'll really work long term, but I think, like you said, Chris, I think we're good for another few.
Oh yeah. Well,
I know everybody, and I'm just looking at some of the comments in the.
Bryan says 3 to 4 figures a year. I'm like looking at this, like 3 to 4 figures a week.
Yeah, so that will be one of the last times. Like I said, I've already pretty much got my year mapped out in terms of with Cap and the Mandalorian, Qui-Gon, and Krennic. And one of the ones I'm kind of debating with what I've kind of got left is, I've got that DX bug right now. I was talking to Roy earlier. The new Maul coming out from Solo. I love Maul's a really cool character. I really like him. And I mean, if it looks like it's going to be a good figure, then who knows? But I think, and somebody had said earlier, I saw somebody made a comment of, Big Bad Toy Store is right now with, we didn't even talk about Sideshow and charging taxes now, like almost countrywide at this point. We talked a little bit about it on the Assemble, but for the most part, like if you put apples to apples, Sideshow to Big Bad Toy Store, outside of Big Bad Toy Store not doing payment plans, like the shipping is way less. And if you're going to pay the same sales tax, you might as well save on the shipping. And Sideshow has always had inflated shipping, but they make up for it with the rewards. To me, it's potato. It's like, would you rather have your money saved up front or getting it back afterwards? And I was talking to Zach with Collecting Weekly on one of his group threads earlier in the week, and it just creates this vicious cycle. Is like, once you keep using rewards, you're going to keep in that cycle. And that's why I'm trying to break it a little bit. I'm not saying like Sideshow is the devil and I'm never going to order there anymore, but I think at any point when you decide, okay, I want a figure, like when Qui-Gon and Krennic come out, I'm gonna get the best deal for me. I'm gonna get the cheapest price I can. most advantageous, whether it's using rewards that I might have or the cheapest shipping. Like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be equal opportunity scavenger here.
Yep. I mean, we just ABS with this, and it's totally, you do get stuck in that sideshow cycle, and it's just like, hey, here's another $25 coupon. You get that figure. Hey, here's another $25 coupon, and it's just, and then you're like, okay, I can get rewards on this too, and it's got free shipping, and then it's like, wait a second, I'll look on eBay, and it's like, people have the figure for buy it now for less than what you would be netting with all those discounts and stuff like that. So, but then you're talking taxes on eBay, and there's a lot of things to take into account as far as overall costs and where to look. And we've talked about it in the past. It's just like, there's so many options for buying figures, whether it be smaller retail websites, the Facebook groups, whatever it might be. Definitely make your rounds as far as a figure purchase goes. Unless it's something, you feel like you need instantly.
Yeah, speaking of shipping, like Mario in the chat was saying how the pile of loot helps save shipping costs. So not only do you can get $4 shipping at Big Bad Toy Store, you can stack as many items as you want over like a 90-day period once you buy them into like what they call a pile of loot, which most people know about it. It's basically like your treasure chest, and they'll ship everything out all at once everything's paid for, $4. So I mean it's real cost. I mean, because with tax, I mean you're talking with the rising cost of these figures, if you're talking almost $300 now. They're closing in on that. A lot of these figures, 7%. It's over $20 plus the inflated shipping from Sideshow, $25 sometimes. I mean, it's $45. That's a lot of margin to where you can start shopping around to other places to find a better deal. Rewards aside, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of tired of rewards because, like you guys said, it just keeps you in the cycle. So it keeps you wanting to use these coupons. Oh, they gave you a $25 coupon for a figure that's due out in 2022. Yeah. Put down the $25 coupon and $30 on the figure, and then you don't want it 6 months later, and then you're screwed. So
I know that's exactly what happened to me with the figures I canceled. I think one of them I had the coupon on, and it was like, there's a reason why Sideshow does it, because just like super duper paratroopers saying, they're very tempting, and you just instantly want to, he's saying he instantly wants to go on Sideshow and pre-order something, and yeah, just keeps going around and around and around. And like Bryan, I have a lot more figures on pre-order, but I have a lot less than I used to, and I'm trying to back off of pre-ordering anything and just kind of letting things play out and wait until they hit, they release, and then I can jump on something from there. And I think it's the way to go, unless there's no NRD.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time, I think, when pre-ordering was actually important. You go back several years, because I don't think Hot Toys had the data that they have now on what the market is. So when people give these pre-orders, they actually probably did control supply. I don't think it does anymore. This is my complete hunch, but I don't think it does. They have way too much information on past sales of the same figure type. They don't need that to determine what it's going to sell like.
In conclusion about our collection update, I know we're running long. This might approach a 2-hour episode at this point, which is crazy for us. That's a short episode for Steve and the Assemble, but ABS, always be scavenging. We need to put that on a t-shirt. I know Roy's been super busy, and again, happy birthday, my friend. But we'll see for sure. All right, so let's flip things over, guys, and we're gonna talk the 2019 Hot Toys Scavenger Awards. So Chris, one thing we did a little bit differently this time out is we allowed it to be more than just Marvel and Star Wars. I think in general, with what we're doing as collectors, what we've been doing on the Assemble, we may not even eventually limit ourselves to just Hot Toys from here. We'll see. I think it still should probably be in the 6 scale, but like Asmus is doing a lot with Lord of the Rings now. Blitzway, I would love for them to do more. They do great work and expound things out a little bit more. But one thing that the TC helped us do for the awards, not even for just on the admin team, but everybody else, we did like a blind ballot. And it was great because I feel like last year people were able to see like what people had voted for before. And we allowed people to do like a first place vote and like a fifth place vote. And I would tier things a little bit more and then coming in afterwards. And then people were like, well, I didn't own the figure and whatnot. So what we did this year was, I guess it's the popularity vote that we went with this time. We allowed everybody a maximum of 5 votes. And we looked at all the figures released January to December. And once you picked your 5, you submitted them. So really, TC, before we even start getting into this whole process, really it's our top 5 figures are the figures that showed up on the most ballots, right?
Right, yeah. So you had to submit 5. You had to complete all 5. You couldn't submit 4. You had to submit 5. And like Bryan said, it's basically a popular vote. So the figure that was cast on the most ballots is the figure champion of 2019. And that's kind of how we did it. It's simple. And I think, honestly, it's a pretty accurate way to get a consensus because a lot of people have differences in what their number 1 figure is versus their number 2, 3. But if you're talking top 5, you can get a general idea of what people are thinking. Even if they don't own the figure, they can appreciate stuff. So I think that's kind of the idea. And just to make it simple for everybody voting, that was the second part to it.
Hey, it was a great idea. I mean, I'll give you all the credit for that because.
Well, you guys voted, so.
Yeah, that's true.
So what we did is the 3 of us partaked. We also had everybody in the admin team. So what we're going to do is we're each going to talk about our individual top 5s. And I've got some cool images that I'm going to put up on screen. And just for everybody you won't be able to see this if you're listening on the audio feed from the podcast download. But each image is tiered into 3. It's cut 3 ways. TC's will be on the top. Chris will be the middle of the sandwich, and I'll be on the bottom. And so when we call those up, so we're going to go 5 to 1. We're each going to give a little bit of some of our thoughts of why we picked the figure for that. Again, a little bit of a spoiler. I think there was only a 8 total figures in the top 5, so there's a heck of a lot of overlap. And then once we talk about our top 5 and talk about our top figures of the year, we're going to bring in, not going to bring them onto the show, but Roy, Steve, and Matt each shared what their top figures were. And from there, then we're going to go and in the same order, we have some honorable mentions and then 5 through 1 for all the Scavenger Awards. And really what we're going to consider what the figure of the year is what the Scavengers picked, because all of our admin votes were also included in the total votes. So that will determine what the figure of the year is. I know Gare Bear's out there like very eagerly anticipating what the
everyone's vote's the same. There's we don't calculate ours is worth more.
Nope. So it's all everybody's got to say. That's one of the things we pride ourselves on as Scavengers is no experts here. We're not know-it-alls. So as we start to talk about ours here, I'd love to see people tuning in live kind of punch in what they feel like their guess is of what the figure of the year is going to be, and we'll take a look back and see if you want some free bragging rights that you were right and you had your Magic 8 ball. All right, so I've got it ready on the screen for our number 5 figure. So Chris, why don't you give us a drum roll? That awesome soundboard that costs $0.00.
Pretty good.
My camera's shaking.
Yeah, it's all good. Just don't bring down the root cellar. All right, so here we go with our number 5 figures. Again, TC's on top, Chris is in the middle, and I am on the bottom. All right, so we'll stick to that order each time that we go through. And TC, lead us off with your number 5.
Well, let me just first say I made the list the night I got Winnie the Pooh in my possession, and he's not really a 1/6 scale figure, but he's about the size of most of them, so I counted it. He got cast in the ballot, and he got multiple votes by other people too. But this is my number 5 figure. It's just really well done. You got to see it in hand. It photographs fine, but all the quality's just there. It's all across the board. I mean, it's not a squishy. It's not a plush. It's a figure. There's the actual hard plastic skeleton for his stomach, and then his legs move, his arms move like 180 degrees up and down. They can bend at the elbows. Like I said, he can hold his honey pot in both hands or in each of them, so he can hold it together or in his right or left hand. No hands, arm, no hands needed. It's magnetic. The fur is really soft. It comes with some sunglasses. You can get the 2-pack with Piglet, and I think that's probably a more desirable pack than just the single one. But man, they just did such a good job. That knitted sweater is just, it's really something to see. It's not thin piece of crap. It's high quality. And then the red
hard hitting analysis right there.
It is very, very good. So
Cliff Notes, not a piece of crap.
Yeah, it's not a piece of crap. It's unique too. I mean, we always say Hot Toys, why don't you do something besides Marvel and Star Wars? Well, there you go. There's something. So I think there's value in that.
Totally. I just wish it was available in the U.S. market. I don't
get that. That doesn't make any sense.
And we'll never know why. But I'm sure there's some licensing thing. But it's not really one I would get, but I love the idea that Hot Toys is willing to do something like this.
I watched the original movie. I think it was from 1977 on Disney Plus the other day.
Perfect.
Just because I bought that figure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my number 5. Chris?
Yeah. No, I just like Mark's comment. 50-50 chance TC sleeps with his poo. I probably would. That's what he said.
Can't do it. It's a hot toy, man.
I know, right?
It's not a teddy bear.
I know. All right. So if you're watching, Thanos from Infinity War was my 5th figure of the year. Just he was not one of those figures that was a day one pre-order. I think I ordered him as soon as it was released in Hong Kong after seeing the in-him photos last year. And I just getting this figure in hand is, it just has a presence, and he's, so much bigger than the other figures, towering over them. I think I enjoy this version more so than, the armored one, just because of what this one actually did in the movie, and kind of has that, he was pretty ruthless, but just an awesome figure from top to bottom. And, he doesn't have too many accessories, but, the gauntlet and everything's pretty cool. He's got some, minor construction issues with his arms and that sort of thing. But I just love that Thanos figure and cannot wait to display him against all the heroes.
Yeah, man, that's going to be sweet when you do, because it's a great figure, but when it's with everyone else, like an ensemble kind of thing, it's pretty nice.
Yep.
All right, my number 5. Hello there. So I took I have to preface this. I kind of took a little bit of different approach with my top 5, and I wanted to make sure I had the figure in hand. So there's one figure in particular that people will be surprised that I don't have in there. It's just because I don't own it, and I can't keep it in my top 5 if I can't actually speak to it, because if I don't have it, I mean, I can appreciate it. Just with that aside, I thought Kenobi was just a really solid release. I'm still not 100% sold on the head sculpt. I think a lot of it is based on lighting. But with that, I wish there was a little bit more detail in it, but still, Kenobi is one of my favorite characters, and everything else about the figure is fantastic. I mean, the lightsaber detail in the hilt is incredible. The tailoring, the boots. This figure exudes sass that Kenobi has, and you can set it up in multiple different ways. You can pair him with light side Anakin to fight Dooku at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. You can use him to fight dark side Anakin to have that scene. It's multifaceted. Just a really solid release for Hot Toys with this one.
Yeah, caught a lot of flack early on for the head sculpt, but man, it's a nice head sculpt. It may not be perfect, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first Star Wars Hot Toys figure. I mean, not that long ago, but right after you guys did the review, I'm like, I need to own this. And I think it just went waitlist on Sideshow, the deluxe.
Yeah, the original's been gone.
Yeah.
And BBTS also, it's been gone. So it's selling out pretty fast.
Yep. Yeah, so awesome figure. We'll see if we get any more Obi-Wans in the near future.
I want an episode 1. I want an episode 2.
Yeah.
I want a Kenobi from his series coming up on Disney Plus. All right, guys. TC, I'm about to throw it over to you again. Let's head to number 4.
Number 4, Mad Titan. We're just talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Chris said, man, it doesn't come with a lot, but stuff it does come with is what you'd expect it to come with. The extra arm gauntlet. Obviously, the head sculpts. Got 2 head sculpts. Both of them spot on to Josh Brolin. And, I mean, it just captures the essence of Thanos, especially when you have him with the rest of the characters from Infinity War. Just top-notch release. And I, too, prefer it to the Endgame version. So that's my number 4.
Very nice, very nice. For me, as seen on the screen there, War Machine Mark IV from Infinity War was, my number 4. And this figure in hand, I think it wasn't supposed to come out till I think this time or first quarter.
I think it was February 2020, I think, originally.
Yeah, so it came out way earlier than anybody expected, about 6 months early. And I got mine a little while ago. And I mean, this figure, it's maybe not as beefy as Mark 1, but it is a pretty sweet War Machine figure. It's going to be my War Machine for a while. And I love the deco, the kind of digital camo, and he's got some awesome accessories, and I just really like the overall appearance of this War Machine figure.
Yeah, definitely. I had this in hand for a little bit before our friend TC snagged it from me, but I completely agree.
Very, very nice.
So my number 4 pick is Yoda from Attack of the Clones. And I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast. I know I spoke to both of you guys about it. I remember when I got it and I opened it, initially I was just very underwhelmed by it. I think just because of the size, and I just I don't know. I'm not feeling it. But ever since then, it's on my shelf. It has so much detail. It captures the essence of Yoda. You can use it with Attack of the Clones. You can use it with Revenge of the Sith. And the detail in the face sculpt is just incredible. Even having the fuzzy little white hair on the back, the robe's well done. I think PJ the Paradox Nerd had mentioned in his review, the lightsaber is magnetic, so you can actually attach it to his belt. It comes with a flight stand, so you can have a bunch of different poses. It's tough because it's pricey. If you're paying by the inch of the figure, it seems like it's expensive. But man, it's worth it. If you need a Yoda in your collection, I would prefer this one to the Empire Strikes Back one.
Totally. This guy's, a small package, but man, it is an awesome figure. One of my buddies just got him, and he can't believe the amount of detail that they put into this figure, and he's just absolutely hooked. So yeah, I can see why it's in your top 5.
All right, TC, let's roll things over to number 3.
War Machine Mark IV. I feel like I'm in lockstep with Chris, kind of. War Machine Mark IV is my number 3 for Infinity War. just got it in a trade from with Bryan. Look, man, it's like they took the Mark III and just kind of they didn't bulk it up, but they added to it and made it kind of smoothed it out. But they did add some artillery to it. Obviously, like Chris said, the camo deco is really nice feature. Hey man, if you're gonna have an Infinity War collection, it's a key piece. And Hot Toys, man, they show love to War Machine. So that's my number 3.
My number 3 is Scarlet Spider from the PlayStation video game. And I got to say, I am so glad that I jumped on this figure right when it was available for pre-order. I mean, in hindsight, it probably doesn't really matter, but I love this figure. When I get this figure in hand, I mean, step it back, like the blogger photos of this guy, just there's so many possibilities, for picks and that sort of thing. And there's just something about this figure that just really pops for me. The contrast between the kind of turquoise vest hoodie and his bright red suit, the camo gauntlets with the web shooters and stuff, and the belt, and he just comes with some awesome accessories with a pizza and fun things like that. I have no real connection with the character Scarlet Spider, but Spider-Man is my number 1 favorite Marvel character, and I think this figure looks great in any display. So I'm digging this figure.
All right, my number 3 pick was Thanos, as PJ would say. But Thanos, just to reiterate a lot of what's already been said, I think this figure has a lot of presence. When I opened this thing, you just saw how massive he was. And right now I've got him in a quarter scale display case, but when I get my Magic cases in, he will be able to fit in one of their 6 scale cases. So like Chris had mentioned, looking forward to being able to put him with some of the other Avengers that I still have from Infinity War. Again, reiterate, I think this is the Thanos to own over the armored one from Endgame. And there's some shortcomings about the figure, but when I think about the imposing presence, how you can still have the bent arm with the gauntlet, and you don't have to worry about the bending of the arm and that over time kind of wearing out. The way that I have him displayed now, it's not stressed on any of the arms or anything, and I think it's a pretty badass pose. So agree. I've got him a little bit higher, but I think it's a very solid figure.
Yeah, it's very good.
All right, number 2, TC.
All right, that would be Darth Maul. I don't own this figure, but I don't have to own it to know that it's an amazing figure. I've seen plenty of reviews on it. I mean, it's a DX. You have the option of getting the blood fin, his vehicle. It comes with 2 head sculpts. You can have almost an infinite number of poses with this guy. Everything seems to be of high quality. The material, it's just a slam dunk release. And Maul's, man, people love Maul. Star Wars fans love him, and for Hot Toys to give it the DX treatment, I think it's a home run. So I put that at number 2, and won the Collecting Weekly Awards for best overall figure. It's not surprising, so it comes in at my number 2.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, TC. I don't have this figure in hand. I will by the end of next month, but it's just Darth Maul just exudes coolness, and the design, the way Ray Park played the character in episode 1 with all the fighting and acrobatics and that sort of thing. It just really put that character on another level. And even though he met his demise in that movie, the character lived on, and it's cool that we have, another DX Maul coming from Solo, a totally different look. and it's fitting that he's in the DX line. It's just that the option of having the speeder, even though it's people question how many people are actually going to display it with it, but it just adds, you can have it behind him. I know a lot of our members in our group have this guy set up in various poses, and I mean every single one of them looks awesome. And like Bryan was mentioning earlier, if we can get an episode 1 Obi-Wan to pair, with Qui-Gon in the Duel of the Fates battle scene, I mean, that would be pretty awesome for any display. So that's why I've got Darth Maul at number 2, not having it in hand. That's why he's at this spot for me. But once I get him in hand, we'll talk about that. So yeah, love it.
All right, my number 2 figure was Scarlet Spider. Like Chris had him 3. Let me put it this way: I felt strongly enough about this figure, and then also having the Iron Spider, that I was comfortable having those as my 2 representations for Spider-Man in my collection. I just absolutely love the suit design. Love all the little tips and things that they did to make this better over prior releases. You still potentially have some snagging issues, but like Chris had mentioned, the web shooters are awesome. The suit material, I love the mask, the details there, and his little foot pads on the bottom of his feet. It came loaded with accessories like a pizza box and a camera and so many other things. And then also you've got a different muscular body underneath the figure, different from what the Tom Holland sculpt is, like on, say, the Iron Spider. So it's a different look. This was nowhere near going to be leaving my collection. I'd absolutely love this figure for sure, and glad to have it.
All right, number 1. Let's see.
All right, another drum roll, Chris. All right, so our top, and again, this is just our top figure.
Yep.
Again, we're still going to do the Scavengers, so not really a surprise for you guys.
Boring old Mark 7. No,
I know.
Look, man, what can you say about it? I mean, they hit it out of the park with this release. The paint is awesome, the molding, awesome, accessories loaded. MMS 500. You get a throwback to the Avengers 1. You get a redo of the plastic version of the Mark 7, and you can tell. I mean, they spent well over a year. I don't know how long it takes to make these, but it was in production. The production phase for well over a year. They took their time, and they knocked it out of the park. All the wear and tear throughout the entire figure, the lifelike weathering, the die-cast pieces, the plastic pieces. I mean, if you're going to get one Iron Man figure, I mean, this is a strong case to say, yeah, this is going to be my one. You can make an argument for the endgame versions, but the essence of Iron Man, I think the Mark 7 they captured it with the Mark 7, and man, slam dunk release. My number 1.
Yep, I got to agree with you. It was my number 1. Had it, got it not that long ago, and this is one of those Iron Man figures that is just a focal point of a collection and can be your only representation for the character. It's just got that kind of aesthetic to it. He's got so many accessories. He can go in so many different looks. Looks that, I don't know, transforming a Hot Toys is a little bit tricky, a little bit out there, but it is, it's kind of a cool option to do so. And I just, this is kind of, for me, like MCU Iron Man, comic book Iron Man. I mean, has it all. And I just can't say enough for him. I love that figure, and number 1 for me. How about you, Bryan?
All right, so I do have DX Maul 16. So we lumped in DX16 and 17 together, so they're separate figures because of the blood fin, but for our voting purposes, they were together. This was the figure that I opened this year that was like the biggest wow, and we haven't reviewed it on the podcast. I feel like once you guys get it in hand, we might want to consider doing that. The whole DX experience of opening up the box and the foam and the extra head sculpt. Both of the head sculpts are phenomenal. I can't believe the number of accessories that come with this thing. You can display the lightsaber together. You can have it apart. You can have the motion blades, all the different hands and stuff that are included. It comes with a Sith probe droid. The stand is big. You can do him with a flight stand, flying pose or not. The material on the suit is like, it's still pretty good, but I think for what you're getting on this figure, rightfully so, starting to sell out some places. This is one that although I just spoke about, figures not really, going for more aftermarket. Like, this is one I think a couple of years from now that might still be worth more than the retail cost on that one. Just incredible. I can't say enough good things about this figure, and I can't wait to get a bigger display space for him, because I definitely want to pose him with against Qui-Gon, and hopefully eventually, fingers crossed, episode 1, Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, with Duel of Fates, talking to our friend Robert, and for my money, at least in the top 3 of the best lightsaber battles in the whole saga. It's just incredible. Throw in that John Williams Duel of the Fates score, and it's yep,
gives me chills literally every time I watch it. So those are our lists.
So
and also just to give recap for the other admin members, their top figures. Roy, one of the co-hosts of Rogue One 6th, his top figure was Maul, Darth Maul. Same with Matt, also co-host of Rogue One 6th. And then Steve, his top figure of the year was the Mark 7 diecast. So that's how they felt.
Yeah, I mean,
hard to argue.
Yeah, it is hard to argue. So, you know what else is not hard to argue, guys? I think we've got an all-time high of 34 people tuning in live to the show right now. 35. That is incredible. Yes. 35
just a few minutes ago. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's humbling to have everybody want to be part of the conversation. I wish we could be a little bit more interactive with the comments as the show's going on, especially for me, because I'm running the soundboard and all that other stuff, bringing up the images and moving things along here. But I think one thing that's really been cool, guys, about ever since we've moved to the live video format is the fact that all of the scavengers can have sidebar conversations, going back and forth and commenting on things that we might be saying or whatnot. And that just is super cool.
Yeah, we see what you guys are saying. It's just, it's entertaining. Sometimes it's hard to incorporate what you guys are talking about into the conversation that we're having, but just it's great to have the interaction between you guys. It's just it's very it's awesome that you guys are joining in here.
All right, guys. Chris, let's get one more drum roll, and we're going to start with, we have 2 honorable mentions. They were so close to being in the top 5, we had to include them. Now, TC, just for reference, if anybody's now just tuning in live, the total number of votes that we had was
58.
We had 58 total votes. These were only people that could vote were in our private Facebook group. And so that's just a benefit of being part of our community. And as we had said at the onset too, these are based on essentially number of votes received and or, essentially the amount of ballots that it shows up on. And I think, TC, we also have a couple of those stats to reference as we go along here. I just lost my show note page earlier quick. All right, so let's start. Chris already did the drum roll. These are our honorable mentions. And one that just ranked very highly, Chris, in our personal top 5s. And one figure that I personally don't have in in my collection, but I know a lot of people are big fans of the Dooku.
Yeah, I've got the Dooku in hand, and yeah, I love that figure. I mean, he was a honorable mention for me and Kenobi as well. So they were just outside of my top 5, and it's a very simple figure, but Hot Toys nailed it with the tailoring and the way the cloak lies on him. And yeah, it's nice that we got Yoda and Dooku, so you can pair those together. And maybe someday we'll get episode 2 Anakin and episode 2 Obi-Wan. You could have a whole much bigger scene. But yeah, Christopher Lee, the likeness is uncanny. I mean, Hot Toys knows how to do older people, sculpts, and there's no denying who that is. And I just, to get a Dooku Hot Toys figure is just, I mean, I love that character. I mean, his character's fleshed out a lot more in a lot of the Star Wars novels and other content and stuff like that. So knowing all that stuff and then having this figure, it means a lot, to me.
Yeah, and TC, the other honorable mention is Scarlet Spider, which just rated pretty highly for both Chris and I. I know this was a figure that you had received and had some QC issues on it, but overall, I think given 58 votes, 58 voters, this is still a really strong finish for this figure.
Yeah, it popped up on a little over a quarter of the ballots, so pretty good turnout for that one.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to go 5-1, and you'll probably see a lot of familiar figures, but I think it's still really cool that now this is a larger community voting in on these. So, TC, number 5.
Number 5, the Mad Titan.
The anus.
Came up on, that's right, the anus. 28% of all ballots cast included the Mad Titan as one of their votes. Easy to see why. And probably the same reasons that we listed. Just an awesome figure. The main villain and probably arguably the best MCU movie to date. What can you say?
Yep.
And that was, what, 28% of the ballots?
28%, yep.
All right. Number 4 is Hello There. Showing up on 36% of the votes. This is a really strong finish for, like I said, it's a solid figure. It's not, it has some shortcomings, but I think it represents the character of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi quite well, Chris.
Absolutely. And especially with, what's coming down the pipeline for that character and the actor and everything, I think a lot of people are getting excited for that, and then had to have this available to represent his version of Obi-Wan. I think you couldn't ask for a better, you could ask for a better, head sculpt and stuff, but I think overall it's just a great figure. The robes and the lightsaber, and yeah, it's just an awesome figure.
Yeah, this one was in third for almost the entire balloting process until like the last day. Another one was just closing in hot. I mean, it was just coming strong, and it got overtaken, but strong showing from Obi-Wan. I was surprised a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 3 with
the figure.
Yeah, 40% of the votes, and TC, you just mentioned this is the one that came in hot here. Rhodey.
War Machine Mark IV from Infinity War. It was doing pretty well, but then it seemed like on the last day, just a lot of people voted for it. That might have left Obi-Wan off, but it was pretty strong showing, 40% of the ballots, and yeah, like we said, great figure.
Yeah, a beast of a figure, and like Chris had said, if you want a War Machine, if you want a Rhodey in your collection, you want to buy one at retail, this is your best bet. And I think it's the best of the best of all of them. I would have kept him in my collection if it weren't for TC making Tarkin available too. And you can't find Tarkin anywhere right now for anywhere close to retail. And I had almost thought that ship was sailed, but I think it's important to have people you can count on as friends and other collectors, and you kind of know what each other's looking out for, and that's the definition of a win-win swap in my book.
Yeah, I remember talking to you guys. I was like, gosh, I'm just going to keep the Mark III as my representation of War Machine, but then I just kept looking at my Infinity War collection. I had a decent amount of figures, and it's just not. The fourth one is just, there's a gaping hole, but I didn't want to spend the money to get it right now. So I'm like, I'll just part ways with a couple figures, and it actually worked out really well. So that was a win-win, man. Appreciate that. But before we go on, I want to say the next two did separate themselves from the pack. You guys probably have a hunch of what they are, but next two separated themselves from the pack, and really strong showings from both. And we'll get into that right now.
Hold on, guys. I'm pausing here because I'm looking at something Jeff just posted in our group, and it's melting my mind right now. I'm trying to get confirmation of what the heck's going on here because, guys, the Mark 47 is being reissued.
No.
Breaking news. That's amazing. Thank you.
All right.
Yep, it's got the reissue. This was something long rumored.
Is it a complete reissue? Like, are we getting the head sculpt?
It's the head sculpt and everything.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, that is incredible.
Let that one go for the longest time. Just said, just forget about it.
This is one that you people don't need to miss. I mean, I've parted mine out that I don't really have anything with it, and this is one I would never sell for my collection. I just love the contrasting styles. Like, people did not sleep on this reissue.
That's my biggest regret ever in Hot Toys, was when I stopped collecting for a little bit. It was like last year I just was moving on to some other hobbies. I sold that one for over just double what I paid, but it then became quadruple the value. And I was like, I'm not buying the figure again. I'm just going to have to move on. But I'll always just remember this one was the one that got away. But okay, I'm definitely going to order that one.
Good eye, Bryan. Good eye.
I gotta give a shout out to Jeff. That was we knew. Usually we catch this stuff after we're done recording. I think the fact that we're still recording an hour and a half later,
true,
that we would have already been done by now.
Yep. Yeah, we would have had to do an additional thing on the group live feed on the
news.
Group.
Breaking news.
Wow. I mean, I might even want to get another one. That's how much I love the figure, just to get one back, to have the head sculpt, because the head sculpt and the blue sunglasses are just incredible. Awesome. I'm really happy for everybody. Don't sleep on it. You're not going to get a chance to get this at retail. And all these scalpers just started crying in their Cheerios. I feel really bad if anybody just paid a lot of money for one, because that's incredible.
That's why the Iron Man figures that are commanding a lot of money, it's you've got to gauge whether or not it's worth holding on to, or if it's the time to sell. And next one in line could be that Mark V. So
it
could be, but
I mean, they maybe have had some of the molds from doing the 46 concept art, and again, maybe just repainting it. I don't know what it's going to look like to do the reissue. I certainly don't even know, what the time frame is. So I would imagine it's going to start going off for pre-order on like Big Bad Toy Store and Sideshow. So we're recording on a Wednesday, January 8th. I would say Thursday afternoon, January 9th is when you'll start seeing those. Gosh, it's melting my mind. It just broke the awards.
I'm getting the Vulture from Jazz Inc. and that figure I was not going to have. It was just going to be another hole. So
yeah,
this is probably the best news that I could have hoped for from Hot Toys, because I thought they might actually just let it go because there's so much stuff coming up.
right?
No.
I think they're seeing it regularly selling for $1,000 on the secondary market, and they wanted some of that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, the 47 is the pinnacle for me, just the design, and it's so unique, and it's got such a small part in Spider-Man Homecoming, but it just pops on a shelf. It's
the aesthetic. Seeing yours in person is doesn't help my desire to want one.
yeah.
And when I first started collecting, it was still on waitlist. Like the waitlist was open on Sideshow, and I jumped on it, and I must have messaged them like every week saying, "Is there any chance? Is there any chance? Is there any chance?" And didn't happen. So I had to give up. But the thing is, I could have gotten a Big Bad Toy Store retail, and
That's where I got mine. I got that
yeah.
retail. Yeah, I was gonna get 2 of them, but I didn't.
Yeah, that was
I have
my
0.
collecting faux pas of not getting it when I should have. But oh well.
So, anyways, we temporarily paused on our third figure here. Jeff just popped into the live chat here, so mad shout out to Jeff catching that, and yeah, very cool. All right, so let's get back on track. Let's go back to number 2, and TC fittingly talking about Iron Man. Mark 7 diecast with 57% of the vote, coming in at number 2.
And a little bit of a shocker to me. I thought this one was gonna win. I think maybe what was holding this one back a little bit was obviously there's a lot of Iron Man being released, but the fact that it was late in the year. So it was released, what was it, November, October, something like that. A little bit later in the year, and not as many people had it in hand yet. So I think that might have held it back a little bit. But still number 2, strong finish.
Yeah, not surprised it's in the top 2. But I think a lot of people appreciate Iron Man figures, but a lot of people also, like Matt, they say, yeah, it's just another Iron Man figure. But it's not just another Iron Man figure.
No, this is not just another. This is the
Iron Man figure. And the reissue of the 47 does throw a wrench in like predictions as far as like what other Iron Man figures could come out. But this one, if you have a chance to get it at retail, I can't see it going, the value going below retail. So I would definitely jump on that. Or if you do use Sideshow, you could use that $25 coupon or your rewards, or look at other retailers to see, who's got the best deal.
I'm tilting from the 47. I'm just so I have it. It's parted out. It's the base figure, but I'm still so happy that everybody's getting the chance to.
Those sunglasses, man. You put them
they're
on the
incredible.
I'm
really considering getting another one. That's how much I love that figure, just to have display it with the Tony Stark head sculpt.
Yeah, well, I've got the Jazz Inc. dioramas Vulture Iron Scavenger on pre-order, so this one, that definitely makes it tempting to kind of pair it up with something like that. But we'll see what the price is, and because like the price for the, what was it, the 42 that was reissued,
43 was about the same. I think it was maybe a $10 increase, maybe.
Yeah, it was $360.
I mean, like if that figure is under 370, even at retail from like Sideshow,
I think it retailed for 354 when it was first released. So I'm guessing the 354 to 380 range.
Yeah.
My guess is like, I'm saying like 385 probably.
It's tough though, because that concept was actually pretty expensive.
With no head sculpt.
390, yeah.
Was it that much?
think it was. Maybe I'm
388 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So more to come on this. I'm sure the Assemble gang will get a chance to talk about this. And now, and again, going back to our collection update, we buy these figures because we love them. Hopefully you don't buy them as some sort of an investment. You never know what's going to be hot or not, or what's going to sell. There's nothing wrong selling high on a figure. But man, I'm happy for people, but I'm also kind of sad for people that maybe just recently, as of today, paid, full retail, which is going to still end up being like 3 times over.
I mean,
I don't know.
Toy Medic says he has no regrets selling his 47 for $1,100.
I wouldn't have regrets about that either.
Yeah. The flip side is as a collector, I guess you really, with Hot Toys, you just have to understand that they're still growing.
Yeah.
Their collecting base is still growing, and they're willing to put out their best figures again, whether it be to allow the collectors to pair something with the Hulkbuster like the 43, or if something is just commanding such a high dollar value in the secondary market, they will likely reissue. So I guess you have to understand that and just be willing to take the risk if you are going to buy a secondary market figure. It's in hot demand. So it's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah. One quick note, David Yoon, he said the Mark 47 is $299 in compared to Hong Kong price, potentially mark up with Sideshow close to 400. So gives us a good idea where pricing might be.
Yeah. All right, let's get back on track because everybody thinks that the Mark 47 is the number 1 figure of the year. So, Chris, one more final drum roll. No real surprise here. Coming in TC with 75% of the vote was Darth Maul DX16, DX17. I'm so happy. This deserved to be the top figure.
Runaway champion, man. I mean, this led with the most votes on day 1, and all it did was widen its gap. And it was surprising to me, actually, but a lot of people gave its props, its respect, and I mean, deservedly so. But 3/4 of the ballots put this on their list, and that's pretty impressive for one figure.
Wow. And initially this figure had gotten some, grief as far as the head sculpt goes and the likeness to Ray Park and some of that's, some of that stuff. But to me, I mean, I don't know how they could have done better, really with this figure. I don't have it in hand, so it's really tough to say, but it gives you everything you could ask for. And then you get a vehicle if you get the DX17. And how often does Hot Toys do vehicles? And I know it's a small vehicle, but like anything, I mean, people are screaming for that stuff. And just look at Jazz Inc. dioramas. I mean, Yost is killing it with all the different designs and stuff, and the people asking him to do things to have that complimentary piece in a display. And you get it with this guy, out of the box. And he's just so iconic as far as Star Wars characters go. Everybody knows who Darth Maul is. And to be number 1, not a big surprise, but it's nice to have a Star Wars figure overtake a Iron Man figure, honestly.
So Chris, do you remember who was the top figure last year?
It was Advanced Suit Spider-Man.
I mean, Tech Suit
Spider-Man. Sorry, yeah, Tech Suit Spider-Man from Homecoming.
Interesting.
I'm
pretty sure. 1-1 split. Right? I think it was. I think you're right. I think that's what it was.
I think Hella was pretty high up there too. Yondu,
Hella. Yeah.
Anyways,
those are the only ones I can remember.
So at least going forward, there's 3 of us now. We're more likely to remember something like this.
Right now, we got it recorded, so we can just save the final votes. Have an ongoing tally of Star Wars versus Marvel.
Yeah, right. Because it's a competition.
Yeah.
But
all right. Gosh, we're already at an hour and 45 minutes, and we haven't even talked about our feature figure review. So, not to shortchange this guy, but we're gonna briefly kind of talk about Boba Fett, MMS 464, and let me see if I can bring this up on screen so we can go ahead and do this. So we'll do a very quick review here. We all have this in hand. We're going to talk about the deluxe version. There was a regular issue too that didn't have all the extra parts. MS 464 original retail price $267. January 11th, 2018 was up for pre-order, and basically 6 months later, it was available in Hong Kong. And this figure sat for a while, and it as recently was still available at retail price at Sideshow and Big Bad Toy Store. But understandably, with The Mandalorian coming out, it kind of renewed a lot of people's interest in not only Boba Fett, but Mandalorians and all the armor and stuff. And now it's going to be a little hard to come by.
Yeah, I mean, he's sold out at most places. I can't say the prices are skyrocketing or anything like that, but I've got the MMS 463, just the ESB version. But it's the Mandalorian aesthetic is iconic, kind of like Darth Maul's look. Ever since Boba Fett was shown in the holiday special back in 1978 in cartoon form, and then with the infamous rocket firing Boba Fett giveaway from Kenner back in the day, to his appearances in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It's just one of those cool looking characters. And, a lot of people, they're not too crazy about Boba Fett because he doesn't do much in the original trilogy. But you can't deny that he looks cool. And even just walking around and saying just lines here and a couple lines here and there, and I've never been like obsessed with Boba Fett, but I always gravitate towards Boba Fett things. I kind of right behind me, I've got my vintage Kenner Empire Strikes Back boxed Slave One. I've got the original Kenner 12-inch Boba Fett up here.
Rocket
original
firing
scale.
Boba Fett.
No rocket firing Boba Fett. Sorry. Don't
There's
have
your
that
rocket firing furnace right there.
Yeah, I know, right there, right on here. Anyway, what do you guys take over?
No, man. I've got two of them. Empire Strikes Back, regular and deluxe. I've got one in the pre-production get up, and then the standard. Look, man, it's got so much going for it. The articulation's there. It's got the wired cape. It's just so cool. I've always liked Boba Fett. I know he doesn't do much, but it just seems so menacing in the original trilogy, and you can put him in any kind of pose you want, and I think that's what you want from a figure like that. That's why you get these, so you can use your imagination.
So up on the screen, I've got somebody did a display like TC had just was verbally talking to us about, with having the pre-production version versus the regular. The armor is mostly the same. So the helmet's different. There's different arm guards. Trying to think what's the major other differences, guys.
There's the helmet, then the
satchels.
The
cape's different,
on the
right?
side are different.
Yep.
The capes are different. Yeah, so the pre-production I think is a dark like a green brown. And then also the ankles have a different wrap around them. So that's also different. And then the forearm gauntlet kind of thing is different as well. And then also the belts, the way the pouches line up, they're at the kind of in the front on the pre-production, and they're on the side with the regular standard movie version. But yeah, man, a lot of differences.
I prefer the regular. I actually, to the surprise of nobody, I got the deluxe and I sold the extra parts on eBay. So I basically could have the standard version, but at the time when I was looking for it, you couldn't get the standard version anywhere. You had to get the deluxe.
Yeah, man, the standard sold out pretty quickly. I remember that I got that standard one when it was Back from the Dead. A Halloween special, Back from the Dead, as everything randomly popped up on Sideshow's website for like a minute, and Bryan messaged me, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah,
I know,
I'll get that one.
That's what I did too. I jumped on it. It was free shipping or something like that, and then
no tax, free shipping.
Yep. So it was. I didn't have a Boba Fett, and I was looking at the deluxe one, but I'm like, I don't need the extra stuff, so jumped on that, and glad I did. And he'll be my Boba representation in the collection.
So as somebody that at least temporarily owned both, or I should say not both, all three. So the Return of the Jedi, which was the first version, they did the animated one, which is, as Chris mentioned, based off the colors from the holiday special in 1978, and which was based off the Return of the Jedi body. And then they did this one. So they retooled a lot of different things. By far, this is the best. Second best, I feel like, was the animated one. The colors just pop on that. And then finally, I think the third is the Return of the Jedi one, which is still a great figure. Just the weathering is up to notch for this Empire Strikes Back version versus the other. If I had to pick one Boba Fett, it would be this one.
I think most people agree. I don't think the Return of the Jedi one was amazingly well received. So I think they made some key improvements and people took notice.
But I think overall, and I think obviously people are I think Boba Fett got a resurgence with people interested about him because of The Mandalorian. And, again, we're not going to talk any spoilers about that series whatsoever, but yeah, Chris has got it in hand here. Mine's, you don't have the backpack on, my friend. Yeah. Anywho.
Yeah, I know. I just reopened the box. I had it all sealed up and everything, so I didn't have too much time to get them all set up.
Tip for everybody. Tip for everyone trying to put the jetpack on. Tilt your figure horizontally and let the straps drop. And then you slide it on. And it's much easier that way. Don't do it while it's standing up. It's very difficult.
If I only knew that.
Yeah.
That's why you come to this podcast, for tips like that. All right, guys. Obviously there's plenty of other accessories and stuff that, do come with this, like the backpack and his rifle, his blaster, the wired cape. The helmet's fantastic. You can put his viewfinder down. I mean, this is a great figure. Overall, I don't know, guys. I think we should rate this on, let's see here. Let's rate it on number of Beskar bars. We'll go with Beskar bars.
I like that. It sounds like a candy bar.
It might break your teeth.
Yeah. Maybe. Possibly.
All right, TC, we'll head over to you first. Number of Beskar bars.
Give it 4.5 Beskar bars. And I would do an impression of character Mandalorian. Sorry, dropping the actor's name, but I can't do it. So I'm just going to go 4.5 bars. And I think it's a solid figure, man. It's it's not perfect. I don't know all the intricacies of Boba. I'm not a super fan of the character, so I don't know everything about him. But as far as capturing, what Boba's supposed to be on the shelf, it does a great job. I like all the accessories and the wiring in the cape. I think is pretty cool, and the weathering is just really spot on. And obviously, and people were mentioning in the chat, the helmet was really well done too. So in the Empire Strikes Back, his helmet, I did notice this, is like more flared out than it is in Return of the Jedi. It's a little bit wider, it seems. And they did that a pretty good job. The molding of the helmet's really good. So, all the accessories, articulation, solid figure, 4.5.
Chris?
Yeah, I hate to be redundant, but I was going to say 4.5 as well. The figure looks great up on the shelf. You can pair it with maybe a sideshow Hun and Carbonite, or whoever else, the other bounty hunters, and he's just cool Boba, just hanging out. So yeah, 4.5. Beskar bars.
Beskar bars. I'll shake it up. I'll go 4.75. I think just comparing it to the other Boba Fett's, I think it's worthy of it. Like you said, it's not a perfect figure. I think the one gripe I have is, and you can kind of see it, the image, one of the blogger photos we have up now, the gloves are kind of sometimes, like the ones that he uses to hold the weapons and stuff don't seem like they would match up the best. But the helmet, the tailoring, everything on it, the fact that the cape is wired, this is the Boba Fett to have. So 4.75 Beskar bars.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right, guys. 1 hour, 55 minutes, almost 1 hour 56.
Hurry up!
I think we get pretty close to 2 hours here.
We had a great chat, man. Up to 36 people were in the chat at one point, so that's an all-time high, like I mentioned earlier.
Awesome.
So I appreciate everybody tuning in. And I know the awards kind of got taken over by the Mark 47 announcement, but breaking
Glad
news
we got
is
it
breaking
in now.
news. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad too. And like you said, the awards were rewarding, and hopefully everybody feels like they hopefully people's submissions and stuff, at least hopefully one of theirs was represented in the top 5 for the Scavengers. I would have to base just based on the sheer volume of votes and stuff that we got, I would say that that's probably the case there. And hopefully, if anything, we're just looking, this is just for fun. You're not handing out any trophies or anything. And hopefully maybe these are some figures that you maybe weren't looking at before, but maybe you've got an awareness of them. You want to go check it out, go check out some YouTube reviews, check out our friends like Paradox Nerd and stuff, and just check some of those sweet 4K videos out there and just see what's going on.
Totally. It was great to cap off the year and with some great figures, and totally look forward to this coming year and all the awesome figures coming down the pipeline. We're going to have a lot more to talk about throughout the year.
We're going to have a Mark 47 versus Hulkbuster battle next year, same time, 2020 awards.
Oh, man. Predicting it now.
Well, we might not get 47 until 2021, so you never know.
We'll see.
But I think the fact that it's coming there. So, speaking of the year, guys, we did 24 podcast episodes last year, even with skipping the final week of the year. So, this is a blast for me, to get to hang out with you both, get to hang out with all the other scavengers and just talk about collecting and, share what we're going through, be transparent. A lot of our struggles are the struggles that everybody else has. We're in this together. We're not certainly out there buying every figure. And again, just most importantly, we're having fun.
Oh yeah, man. It's very fun. Appreciate being able to talk with you guys and interacting with everybody.
Yeah, it was a big year for growth for the podcast, the network, YouTube, diving into all this stuff. And I think, going this format has really propelled us, to another level. And it's just fun being able to interact with everybody and be able to see you guys when we're talking and see all the fun chat going on. And like we're saying, we just appreciate, whether you're a first time subscriber, like Sizemore lawn care services, or you're an OG subscriber like Mr. Gare Bear. We really do appreciate each and every one of you. So, yep.
Yeah, so just in closing, if you are tuning in for the first time, we've got our website, sixskillscavengers.com, where we've got checklists and links to prior shows. Obviously, you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this in audio form. If you throw it's sixskillscavengers.libsyn.com, you throw that into an RSS feed, and you can download the podcast in any podcast catcher. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, as I mentioned, Spotify, Stitcher, and we have our Facebook page. We're on Instagram, kind of on Twitter, and most importantly, we've got our TeePublic store. If you want to go buy a T-shirt, have Six Hill Scavengers on it, we get a couple dollars from each T-shirt sale. Also mentioning those Marvel, Star Wars, Asmus checklist. If you click through there, you go to eBay, you make a purchase, we get a couple dollars kicked back to us. It's one way to kind of help us reduce costs. We certainly appreciate it. And again, we do this for free. We don't ask anything of anybody. Just be part of an awesome community, and we certainly appreciate it.
We really do. We really do. And we'll just, I don't know, a couple weeks from now, we'll see what the feature figure review is going to be. And Scavengers Assemble is coming up next week. And I know the guys with Rogue 1-6 are putting together their next episode as well. So lots of content coming your way. And look forward to everyone's posts on the Facebook group.
And as Mark would say, TC, make sure you hit that thumbs up on the way out. It really helps us out.
Oh, yeah. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. The more we get, the more subscribers, the more likes and everything, the more people, the more awareness it is for everyone on YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, TC, any closing thoughts?
That's it, man. It's a great year, and look forward to coming back in 2 weeks. Be back and better than ever in 2 weeks, talking about figures in 2020. You guys catch the reference on that? More power to you.
All right, Scavengers. We'll catch you next time. Chris, bring us home, my friend.
Excelsior.